Hey, welcome to another episode of the Good Endeavor Short-Term Rental Show. I'm your host, Mark McDaniel. And with a lot of fanfare and a lot of recommendations, I welcome Dr. Rachel Gainsborough to the show today. She has an incredible background. She's actually a medical professional, a doctor by day, and she operates 18 luxury short-term rental properties in the evening. She's a 24/7 mom, and she's also into this midterm rental business that she was kind of telling me before the show. So I can't wait to learn more about that. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mark, for having me. I cannot tell you how honored I am to be here with you and for you taking the time and energy to share amazing content with the short-term rental and community worldwide. So thank you for putting this amazing podcast together.
Oh man, I have been loving it. We're still kind of young, but I've been loving it because I get to meet folks like you every day. And it's what I love about podcasting is it's like you ask questions that you wouldn't normally ask on a first meeting with people. And so it's super fun. But Rachel, like we were talking before the show, and so you live down in Georgia today, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right above Atlanta. Did you grow up around the Atlanta area?
No, actually, I was born in Haiti, raised in the inner city of Miami. And, I grew up in a faith-based environment, went to church, went to school. Those were my two things. And really, my family instilled into me not only, going out and being a go-getter, but also being someone who had philanthropy in my heart. And so I've always had a passion to help others. And so grew up in Miami, went on, got the doctorate. I really didn't want to take my parents' sacrifices in vain. So I still have that thought process of, oh my goodness, I could have been that girl, right? Who was in Haiti, left in Haiti, and just, our family would just feel so honored and so privileged to be in this country. And so for better or worse, all that's going on, I still feel like this is the greatest country in the world. And you could definitely make an impact, by reframing whatever is going on and just looking at the opportunity that you have at hand. Got the doctorate. Yay, we got a doctorate, but it came with a hefty amount of student loans. Financial literacy was not a part of our vocabulary growing up because there weren't really a lot of finances to literate upon, to say the least. Yeah. And so just was really grateful to have, gone past that. It was really a struggle, but we found real estate and that made the biggest difference to our lives.
That is amazing. So your folks, were they in real estate or were they entrepreneurs at all?
No, not at all. So in Haiti, my dad was a professor, a math professor. He taught me all the way up to pre-calculus. And then he said, you're on your own.
Yeah.
My mom was a nurse midwife. And so it was healthcare and education was their background.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're the perfect child to come out of that. So, so from Haiti to Miami, how old were you when that happened?
I was 6 years old when that happened. And when mom and dad, they got here, they couldn't, retain their same status or their careers because of the language barrier. So they essentially had to start from scratch. And so they never practiced their craft here in the United States. They actually ended up working in factories, manufacturing, driving a taxi, just getting paid minimum wage. And they raised 4 kids on minimum wage. And minimum wage, Mark, was like they were telling me $3 and $4 an hour.
I know. That's crazy. You know what I love about immigrants is it's like you don't have the fear. Like the folks who grow up here and who are naturalized like generation after generation after generation, there's a little bit more entitlement and immigrants just make a go for it. Like you guys just, and I don't mean to lump everybody into one group, but I do have a decent amount of immigrant friends who are they just go and they just make things happen. And I love that.
Yeah, there's this, I would say, of course we can't lump, but there's an appreciation, right? There's like, I could have starved to death like literally, not even, this is not metaphor speak, like literal starving to death. True story, full stop. And so that is why my passion is with the short-term rentals, and I go into the luxury space and midterm rentals. I'm always looking for where is it that I can get that ROI, because the numbers matter to me. I have women that we put through medical school in Haiti. We're looking to purchase an island to hold luxury retreats, and the profits and proceeds goes towards building an orphanage that's sustainable so that the children will raise their own crops and have their own livestock. That is my vivid vision. And so the opportunity is here. Like, where else? Like, who's going to feed my kids in Haiti, and who's going to put the women through med school, and where else, will I have this opportunity? So it's so much bigger than me.
Oh man, I love this. I have a friend who always says that gratitude is like the WD-40 on the hinges of the heaven's gates. It's like it makes them swing open even easier, because there's so much. I mean, and you come from such a background. I'm just in admiration that you just have this strict gratitude. And now it sounds like you've kind of committed your life to creating as much, not to give yourself wealth, but to present that opportunity for other folks. Am I on the right wavelength there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that is what lights me up, right? You can only, treat yourself so much that it's like, okay, right? So it's creating opportunity for others who didn't have opportunity. That lights me up. That's like, I'll jump out of bed for that, and I don't know what it is about it. Even in our coaching program, when I pray that the members of our community win harder than I've ever won, get better deals than I have ever found. And when I see it, I am dancing. I'm like, you're more excited for them than you are for you. And
I love that.
The way I was, I guess. God put me together this way for a reason, but it excites me. It just completely lights me up. So I don't know why, but it does. And I just want more of that energy in my life.
That's wonderful. I mean, I think that's the way we were all made. Like, have you ever noticed, and I promise I'm going to get into the X's and O's of short-term rentals, but have you ever noticed when you just put in a really good day's work and you help people, that you just feel, I think God made us that way. We just feel satisfied at the end of the day. Whereas a day where you cut corners and you're lazy about things and you skip the line, you kind of feel empty. Like, we were made to feel that way. And so the more we can fill up other people's buckets, the more we'll be filled up. It's almost like the most selfish thing we can do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just to have the opportunity to create businesses where we can help others, it's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing.
I love, that's so cool. You've got the heart of a teacher. I love that. So, all right. So you graduate medical school, you're a full-time medical professional. You're probably on cloud nine at this point, like, one of the first in your family to kind of do this. So that's super cool. Tell me about short-term rentals. Like why add on to something that's already so successful?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, to be clear, it was pharmacy school. So my doctorate is in pharmacy, the PharmD.
Okay.
Yeah. So graduated, making the big bucks, thinking I'm going to live the best life ever, coming from $0 to doing a residency at the VA, getting some dollars, and then, then elevating to getting, my big girl job, $92,000 a year, right? It's like, whoa, back in 2007, I'm thinking, okay, I've got it made. I'm going to buy the big house, the big car, all the things. It's time to treat yourself. It's time to treat myself. Oh my goodness. Did not understand the first thing about taxes, about debt, because I hadn't had really any debt, or consumer debt. I had the student loans, and those payments were not due anytime soon. So I'm like, I'm going to live the best life life ever. Got the big car, got the big house, a big old house we built, and we're going to live it up. Well, come 2008, things were tough. Finding good work for my husband, that was tough to start out. He's a psychotherapist, and the housing crisis was happening, and we had another property in Florida. We'd moved to Georgia to work on a clinic. We were doing blood pressure clinic, all that. So fast forward through that time, we actually had to take a step back and really look at, what our financial picture looked like. There's nothing like having a reality check. And that's when we realized, we're in trouble. We're literally in trouble when your student loan bills are 5x your mortgage. That's when you realize, hey, wait a second, you're in trouble.
Wow.
And so jumped on the Dave Ramsey bandwagon, did financial piece.
Same thing.
Yeah. Started paying out debt. We sold everything but the kids, moved into a smaller apartment just to, make sure that we were able to add some margin to our lives. And so quickly, we were able to make some great progress. And during that time, towards the end of that time, I'm a future pacer. I'm always looking like what's going to be next. Because yes, we're getting the debt down to zero. We're looking good. But I've always been, I would say, kind of, obsessed with real estate, So we're like, okay, so how are we going to generate revenue so that it's great? The debt is great. We don't have the debt, but we don't have savings, right? How do we accelerate our savings? What's going to be the next best thing?
So what year is this when you're reaching the end of some debt pay down? You're going to do the debt-free scream.
Yes,
and,
right.
What year is this when you're considering real estate?
So this was around 26. I want to say 2014, 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2013, 2014, 2015. We were looking around. We're still renters. We're renting an apartment at that point. We want to purchase our own home. And then we want to start investing. We're looking at everything, Mark. We're looking at cryptocurrency. We're looking at all the things. I just didn't understand what they were, NFTs. I was like, I don't know what any of this stuff is, but I know what real estate is. I can feel it. I can touch it. It's real, right? I can touch the walls. I get that. So that's why we ventured into real estate.
Okay. So your first piece of real estate, where was it? What did it look like? Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so when we had sold our home, took the boys out of private school, went to public school in a school district that had resources and was a little bit of a better school district. This was in Fayette County, Georgia. Our first home we purchased was our primary residence. We used a first-time home buyer's loan because it had been a while since we'd purchased, and then we fixed it up. We lived there, and after a few years, we moved out, and then we turned that into a rental. We purchased another rental in that same market as well, and that's pretty much how we started the path to really investing in luxury short-term rentals, and that was in 2018.
Wow! And so, did your home become a short-term rental, or was it a long-term rental first?
No, we never did long-term rental. We actually had a short-term rental, a traveling, I would say she was a radiology specialist in the guest suite. On the side, we had a separate interest. And really sweet, the guest suite. And so she rented out there. The main house was being rented out by someone who's working in the area. So short-term rental with a mid-term rental component to it. And then it turned into the entire property became a midterm rental for a family who are teachers in the local area. Unfortunately, their house had encountered a disaster and it just caught on fire due to some type of electrical issue that occurred in the garage and had spread. And so they booked for 1 month with us, and they ended up staying with us for 11 months. Because it took that long to get their house back to a state where they could, move back in.
Wow. So that's super fascinating. We we kind of jumped into the short-term rental market kind of on purpose, but it sounds like you just had a different kind of intentionality. Like you hear so many folks will move out of their home and use it as a long-term rental, but how you got into the short-term rental market was basically through like what you just described, through a myriad of a couple events. And so I love that. So tell me a little bit about, so now you're at 18 luxury rentals. Obviously that's a big jump from, owning your first house and using it as a midterm rental to now 18 luxury rentals that you use midterm and short term. Tell me a little bit about how you got into the strict short-term market. And then obviously the midterm market is, I would say you're probably one of the, if not the preeminent expert around to tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the numbers don't lie, right? And I'm really into the numbers. I spreadsheet out all of our deals. And so a recurring theme for me when I was initially analyzing, a variety of markets was 4+ bedrooms, 5-6 bedrooms were really the properties that were making the greatest amount of revenue. And I wanted to identify which markets would fall within our budget. And so for us, being in proximity to a particular market was important at first. So we bought a portfolio of properties one at a time in our own market. And when we ventured out into just a strictly short-term rental market, the Poconos of Pennsylvania was definitely a place that was meeting our budget. And at the time, back in 2019, you can purchase, a 5-bedroom property that needed some work for, under $200,000, and then under $300,000, we're finding quite a few properties as well. Those prices have since gone up, but that market, if you understand exactly the different subdivisions, if you understand what the regulatory constraints are, if you understand the quality of the specific asset, whether it's kind of a log cabin A-frame versus a traditional looking house in a subdivision, like those numbers vary. And if you understand how to really create an experience, you can really drive revenue without breaking the bank. So we're not into necessarily buying properties that are in the $900,000 range. I'll say 700 and lower is the goal, but our portfolio consists of 450, 462 and lower. At the moment, we are building something that busts that budget for wide open, but today 462 is the number, and I'm standing by it. And so the Poconos was one of those markets. We found a deal in Florida, and so a lot of it has come from not just the numbers, but the networking with, a community of individuals who are doing the same thing that you're looking to do, showing up, being in the room. Sometimes it costs something to be in the room, other real estate masterminds, those kinds of things. We've had deals come through that way. And so that's really how we have framed our short-term rental, growing it through our networking, our referrals, those who know what we're up to. And so now, thankfully, we'll get leads just from, people just knowing what it is that we do. And as far as the midterm rental, that's been really great for us to be able to create a meaningful revenue stream, working with those who are displaced from their home due to a disaster. So what a win-win. You get to help them, and then you get to make a really nice amount of revenue because it's paid by the insurance companies. But of course, you have to know how to negotiate and make sure you're getting what that property deserves, because, they're going to want to come in low, which is their responsibility to do, right? They're the fiduciary. But I believe that as the fiduciary of your own business, you need to know what's available to you for those specific claims.
So, obviously, real estate has gone up nationwide. I assume that insurance companies, do they have, do they pay market rates, or is it just a constant negotiation from the start when they're when they're paying for a family in a displaced home, obviously now they're on the hook for rehabbing the home that has been lost. And they're also on the hook for providing housing in a like or better case scenario a lot of times, kind of moving forward. Are they just, is that tough? Is that a hard situation to work with the insurance companies, or is it, a couple back and forths and you figured it out?
Well, here's what I know. I know that back in 2021, at the end of 2021, the insurance industry saw a surplus of $1.03 trillion at the end of 2021. So as it relates to them paying for temporary housing versus paying for the renovation costs of a property, those are two separate buckets. And their coverages within their policy. Coverage A is the rebuild value, right, of the property. Say the property is decimated down to a crisp, right? That doesn't always happen, but say that occurs. That coverage A, that allotment is right in there. And then if you go down to coverage D, that is your temporary housing allowance. Two separate buckets. So I focus on tapping into the coverage D. Okay. So a little bit more technicality there. Coverage D is usually around 20% to 30% of coverage A. So if the rebuild value of the structure, not the entire property, because you have depreciable, non-depreciable. So land is not depreciable. So say you purchase a home for $500,000, the actual structure on that piece of land may be worth $400,000. That may be the rebuild value if you have to build it from scratch, right? Mm-hmm. So if coverage A is $400,000, and I call it my rule of 25, so 25% of that is what coverage D may be. So it's $100,000 per year per claim is their allowance for short-term, mid-term rental housing. And so I tap into that.
If I'm a family getting displaced, I'm going to know, hopefully I'll know what coverage A and coverage D looks like.
You're not going to know. Like, people don't know, right? Mm-mm.
But I would be upset with my insurance company if I thought that they're trying to kind of come in what my insurance covered,
Well, the thing is,
or they're not allowed to.
Yeah, the consumer's mindset is interesting, and people have assumptions in their minds that may not be in line with what the reality is. And it makes sense though. Like, for instance, I've had homeowners say to me, oh, my mortgage is $2,300 a month. So obviously it's $2,300 a month that I could spend on housing, right? Because it makes sense to them. And so if the mortgage, your mortgage has nothing to do, that's a lender. It has nothing to do with your insurance policy, so to speak. So it's really interesting, the mindset. And so most people, they don't know. They assume it'll be their mortgage or anything lower than that. And so that's why it's important for you to educate yourself about this strategy. Yeah. People don't know what their coverage is. So you, as the host, you want to know, like, okay, this is a market that the houses are worth such and such. And if they, getting clues from the homeowner, well, oh my gosh, what happened? How many bedrooms did you say? You start to get those clues. You're going to be empathetic, but you're looking for some of those context clues to say, oh, a 4-bedroom in your market versus a 2-bedroom in your market. And you start to get a ballpark of what those coverage term limits are. And so that's how you can, negotiate, really.
That's fascinating. So let's just say I have $1 million house, and over the past couple of years, the value of that house has gone up 30%. So from 1 million to 1.3. Are you finding, so obviously that affects, if on coverage A, I'm trying to learn quick here. On coverage A, you're still only insured for $1 million. Are insurances keeping up with, like, over the past couple of years? Obviously, we've seen a crazy increase in values. So do you find that insurances are keeping up with that?
No, they're not, unless you yourself, you reach out to insurance, you say, hey, I just put in, I just renovated the kitchen, so you need to increase the price. So you want to update your coverage based on, what you believe that your property is worth. And of course, that's going to change your premiums. But no, they're not going to keep up with that themselves. So
Yeah.
you're going to make some loose associations and loose estimations. It's not cut and dry. And then what I do with the members in the community is we go ahead and we look at some comps, and comps can be other Airbnb and verbal listings, and look at what those monthly rates are. Look at those occupancy, look at those availabilities, look at how amenitized those properties are. And we're going to compare and come up with our numbers. So we're not just going to, provide that number and that's it. We want to see what's the competition, because the goal is, Mark, if they reach out to you, the goal is to provide them a quick and complete response. There's no back and forth.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is to go back and forth a whole bunch of times with this particular client. They're not only dealing with the one-off client who has encountered this fire or water pipe that burst, they're dealing with an entire natural disaster like in Maui, or, they're doing a lot.
Man.
So if you can provide them just one proposal with your terms all on one sheet, and then they say, let me send this over, approved, or can you do something else? And then you just have to weigh the benefits versus the risks. If it's, it's going to be an 8-month stay. If you're making, your monthly mortgage 3x that, if it's worth it for you to go to the Canary Islands for a few months, you might want to take that into consideration too. So it's objective, but it's so subjective as well. Or if you feel like, no, I'm going to counter propose. Okay, so we can move this lever or that lever or this lever, to make it make sense still. But what my goal is to equip homeowners and investors to know that you can have increased occupancy and decrease vacancy while helping someone in need in your community, and still generate a profitable amount of revenue as well.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit before the show about some of this. And, if you're in the best neighborhood and you have the best amenities, you're not trying to buy a house necessarily in the best neighborhood, but you might be trying to buy it in the second or third tier neighborhood, but still have really good amenities, right? Because there's now so many houses out there that might have like game machines and nice furniture and LED TVs and a pool. So you could do that in a neighborhood that maybe is a little bit less expensive. And so that becomes a strategy then, right?
Yeah. And so I'm gonna spill some tea for the community. Let me spill some tea.
I wish I had some sound effects of tea.
Yeah. I'm about to spill some tea. So the 2 top amenities, Mark, that really drive the revenue and they're a game changer for our properties. And I would say one of which is an amenity that only 30% of hosts are willing to offer, but yet 90% of this avatar needs is being pet friendly. People don't want to be pet friendly. And I get it. I'm in the luxury space. I didn't start off with pet friendly. But after the 8th guest asks you about being pet friendly, you might want to listen and ascertain, how do we try to make this happen, right?
You got to think a large percentage of families have a pet, right?
2. Right? And so they're willing to pay. Like Fufu has more priority over themselves. People want to pay for their pets. They're not going to board them up for 8 months. Come on. And guess what? That is a revenue stream. If Fufu has to pay, Pookie has to pay, everyone pays rent, right? And so you can drive the price point from that perspective. You look around your market, again, we're the only pet-friendly thing in town.
Wow.
You get to own this market. So think about it. It's not something you can turn on overnight. You need buy-in from your cleaning team. You need to make sure that you're looking at properties with hard surfaces that can be cleaned very easily. But being pet-friendly, I know the resistance is there. I keep hearing it and over again. And I keep getting people come back week after week. It's like, oh, I'm not getting the buckets. I'm like, well, what is the audience asking for? Pet friendly. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to say. They want pet friendly. They're telling you what they want. Why can't we get it together? We're business people.
Yeah. So a fenced in backyard might make sense then too.
Yes. Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Those
throw
games.
in a foosball table, throw in a game room, that's fine. But when I say amenities, they're looking for pet friendly. And then the second thing is to make you stand out from a crowd. I'm always looking for a property that has a master bedroom on the main or that's on a slab, just a one story. Just because when it comes to accessibility, if you're the only one in town that's accessible and you've thought of these things, like, come on, let's
Exactly.
go. Like, there's not a lot of people thinking that way. And so that is the avatar I want to serve, those who may have some of those limitations. They may have an elderly family member or a child with a disability. You want to make sure that that individual, they're the ones that are the most like precious in that family. Wherever they go, that person is the one that's going to be kind of the one that you need to look out for the most. And so
Yeah.
the family's willing to pay, the insurance willing to pay, like you're the only one that can accommodate this individual.
Yeah. Have you ever purpose built a property like this, or are all of yours you just bought off on the market?
Yeah, so I'm always looking for something. We are in the process of building something right now on the beach,
Mhm.
and it will have some of those features. But no, I haven't built anything yet. It's not complete yet, but
Yeah.
I love that process, that thought process. I think it's very important because, again, those are the individuals that are often, I think they don't, we as hosts, we need to do a little bit of a better job of thinking of those special members of families who need a little bit more attention.
So would you spend as much on furniture and amenities for a midterm rental as you would a short-term rental?
Yeah, I typically would, just because you know what, you want the higher quality contractor grade
Mhm.
furnishings, because contrary to popular belief, the midterm rental, people think there's less wear and tear, but there's going to be some more wear and tear. And that's why I
It's every
do
day.
collect a non-refundable deposit as well, because it's not going to be a one-day turnover. We're going to have to deep clean. We do clean monthly, but we're also going to have to deep clean. We're going to have to paint some, scuffs on the wall every time.
Mhm.
But again, these are some of the most low maintenance guests that you're going to find. They just
Yeah.
want to be in an area where they can go and check in. Did the contractor show up? Is the house, is the project getting done? Can I just drop my
Yeah.
kids off to school and swing by? So the proximity to the subject property is important, but at the same time, it's going to be lived in. The flimsy cookware is not going to be, it's not going to
Those
work.
little-
Whereas you can get by with a short-term rental potentially if they're there just a couple nights, they're
Yeah.
eating out, they're not really using the things, they're going to be using the things. But where I find that the operating expenses are reduced is that with the short-term rental, it's like 2 or 3 nights. If something stops working, you gotta get that plumber there right away, and it could be a weekend, it could be nighttime, you need them right away, so you're paying that nighttime weekend premium. Versus with the midterm rental, they're there for the next 8 months. It's like, hey, could you give me till Monday so I'm not paying this premium? And
Yeah.
it works out. Yeah.
Give me an idea, like let's just say a 5-bedroom house in your area is $3,000 a month for a long-term rental rate. How much more is a midterm rental rate?
$16,000 a month.
Oh, wow. So considerable.
Considerable. Yeah, ours that got featured on Netflix is 6 bedroom. We average about we go from 15 to 28,000. Depending, right, on the scarcity in the market, but it averages around 22,000 a month.
And what is
And the
your,
mortgage is 25 and change, 2,500. And so we had the good interest rates. So after PITI, it's tax, we're at 3,100 a month.
man, sorry, you just hit me with that. That's great. That's way more than I thought it was going to be. I thought you might say like 8. And so that's way more than I thought it was
So
going to
it
be.
varies. So I'm like south of Atlanta in a little bit of a higher cost of living area. I have a colleague that's near the city in Decatur. So their 4 bedrooms are around 8 for a
Okay.
4 bedroom that's furnished. Yeah. So you're not
And what is,
off, but it just depends on the cost of living of that particular pocket of area.
how many months a year might the average midterm rental sit empty?
That's a great question. I haven't seen months. I've seen max so far 21 days. So I've built a
Oh, wow.
community of midterm rental hosts because, and there's 260 of us in this community.
Okay.
So what I've seen max so far is 21 days. And what I love about this strategy is it's a different, excuse me, it's a much different vibe than a short-term rental vibe, right? When you're in that short-term rental, it's like the red ocean, the feeding frenzy, and
Yeah,
some people
yeah.
are dropping their prices. That you're like, don't drop it too low. It's a whole different vibe. It's with the midterm rental, the network. Your network is really your net worth, and the fortunes are in the follow-up. I'm dropping some cliches on you.
No,
So bear with me, but your
stand on
network
those. Yeah.
is your net worth and the fortunes are in the follow-up. So with your midterm rentals, if I'm fully booked, Mark, I tap into my little WhatsApp chat for my neighbors who are doing midterm rentals as well. Anyone has anything, this one just came up, let's lock it down, because the answer is yes. I never tell an insurance, oh, I'm not occupied. No. The answer is yes. Do you have? Yes, I have. And then
Now you have relationships with these insurance companies, I'm
yeah.
assuming,
So
at
when
this
they
point.
reach out, and they know to reach out to me, and I tell them always reach out to me. I got you covered, and that's how I stay booked, right? So you have to be willing to uh, go a little bit. Once they reach out to us, I will always say yes, and I will reach out to them if I see that I'm going to have someone vacating in the next 60 days. Hey, don't forget, I'm here. If you need anything, I've got you covered. The answer is yes. I don't cold call. I know people cold call. I don't believe in cold calling. That's not my superpower. So I'm not going to do it. I don't want to
Yeah,
build a
yeah,
business out of alignment with who I am. I've done that.
yeah.
It sucks. I'm not doing that anymore. so, so when they reach out, the answer is yes. And I figure it out. And figuring it out is asking my neighbors who are also doing it in my market, if they're not actually rented a property out from someone who had a property that was vacant, that was a 4-bedroom, that fit exactly what the insurance needed. They said they were willing to pay a premium. I said, is a premium like $16,000 premium? They said, yes. I rented out for $2,650 a month, 4-bedroom. I got paid $16,000. I rented it out for 18 months. I could pay
So
$16,000. They booked for 1 month, extended for 11 months.
so you do arbitrage on this just like you would short-term rentals.
Yeah. And that was my first arbitrage. I was like, I don't like arbitrage. I'm not doing arbitrage. Oh,
Yeah,
homegirl, never say never, right? That's the lesson I learned. I said, I guess we're arbitraging now because I'm not going to say no to the insurance company. And working a W-2, we never got paid $16,000 a month. There's no
oh my
way
gosh.
I'm going to let this deal pass me by. And so we were able to help a family who encountered a water pipe that just completely burst from behind the fridge. And they came back home to, like an ocean. And
Yeah,
so another family in need, we were able to help them and put them in that property. And so it's been gangbusters since then. I mean, I absolutely love the strategy.
I love this. Like this is great. I love where your heart is. How you just want to help these families, and then you just profit from creating good service, from creating a good service out there. I think it's
The more
great.
people you help, right? Yeah.
And do the
But again,
families?
the network, right? You
Yeah,
want to tap into a network. You want to be a part of a network of people that you can say, hey, Mark, do you have anything? Because this family's in need, So that's a different vibe. I love that vibe too.
do you have any? This is going to sound funny. 2 questions. One is, does the family who's going to live there, do they have to approve it, the house?
Yeah, they do. And so it's a process, that initial process, when I say the fortunes are in the follow-up. So as soon as you're pretty much activated, you want to make sure you're staying on top of the communications. And part of the communications is, you reaching back out to the agent if you haven't heard from them in 48 hours. Say, hey, just want to make sure that, you have everything you need. I'm getting a lot of inquiries, but I want to make sure I work with you. I got you covered because I know this family. I want to get this family in here if this is going to be a good fit. And they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's right. Because they're scattered a lot of times. They then, confirm that, yeah, I just got it back. The family's going to schedule with you and the family is going to tour the house. This is different from short-term rental. The short-term rental, if the family wants to tour the house, like, no, the answer is
Yeah.
no.
Yeah,
Midterm
that's
rentals,
right.
yes, spot on. Yes, because they're going to stay there. Even
They
if they
live
book
there.
for 1 month, Mark, you know in your mind nothing gets no fire damage is going to be repaired in a month, right? So they'll
Right.
start off looking for a month, but then you give them the
Come in
ability to
for.
extend month after month after month.
Yeah.
I received 13 months of notice to extend, which my favorite 3 words is notice to extend. It's like, yes, love it. And so the family tours the property, and you want to make sure that the property is set up in a way that's going to be appealing to them. And then once they're approved, they move in, the insurance cuts you a check. I like to receive mine every single month. My partners and friends, they like to receive their lump sum, the full amount on the front end, and then they go and buy another property, which is great for them. But I like to receive mine every single month. It's almost like royalty, the residual. So
Yeah, yeah. And it's kind of a built-in discipline too. So do you have anybody in your network where I live in North Carolina?
yeah,
Yeah.
North Carolina is popping for sure. Not me. I don't have anyone off the top of my head, but our members in North Carolina are absolutely crushing it. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, you guys have this weird type of insurance. You remember how I said like coverage D could be like 20 to 30%? Y'all
Yeah.
have one in North Carolina that's 100%. Yeah.
You're
Yeah. So there's some kind of Mac Daddy Mercedes-Benz version of insurance policy that's there. I wrote it down. I can't find it, but I'll find it and I'll let you know. Who, if you ever encounter someone who has that insurance, is like,
it's good.
yeah, we're going to the Bahamas, my friend. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Set up that family and then treat your family. Yeah. I was like, what is this? So
Yeah.
it's definitely an industry that not a lot of people are tapping into. That's why we're going to conferences about it. We're learning more and more about it because honestly, I could do this for the rest of my life, helping these
Yeah.
people who are displaced.
It's not
80%
like
of our
natural disasters are going to cease to happen. It happens good times, bad times is evergreen.
It's
You know,
read the room, my friends. The real estate investors, short-term rental host, mentor, read the room. You're absolutely right. I would say 80% of my guests are coming to us due to accidental disasters. 20% are coming due to natural disasters. And can you imagine 6 million families were displaced from their homes in 2022, according to Scientific American. 6 million
yeah,
due to natural disasters. So there was like
there's
a
probably
fire
not,
tornado in Louisiana. A fire tornado. What is that?
and there's probably not 6 million rental homes on the market that cater to the midterm rental. So it's a kind of a blue ocean a little bit. So, I mean, that leads me, we spent a lot of time together. So I really, really appreciate it because I want to talk to you for like 2 more hours, but I want to be respectful. So now like you're helping other folks learn about this. So you're teaching other folks and you have a course on how to do this, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have a course where we not only teach others how to do it, we're auditing your listing. We need the tonality of the listing to speak to these individuals. For those who don't yet have property and they want to get into short-term rentals, but they're a little bit nervous, but they want to learn more about midterm rentals. We're talking to them about the different markets to evaluate what are the attributes of the specific states where we're seeing that it's working best. And it's all states except for a couple that have insurance, subsidized insurance. Then we want to go into the city zone market level. What are the markets that are ideal? And then we want to go into the actual property level. What are the properties that we find are ideal? It works across the board for all areas. I would say with the exception of 2 types of markets, like if you're in an extreme rural area where there's not a lot of homes that you or people to serve, obviously, or you live in, or you're looking at a market with extreme seasonality where all the homes, for instance, like in Cape May, Avalon in New Jersey, it's only second homes. If it's just all the homes are second homes, well, it's not going to make sense because they have a primary home. So like almost logically thinking through that, those are the 2 markets it wouldn't work in. But if you're looking for maximum profitability where, you could drive the revenue, it's going to be those homes that you can set up to be pet friendly, and, the areas that are, they don't have the lowest, I would say, like, you're not looking for the areas that are going to be like the most affordable per se. You want to like look a little bit in the areas that are a little bit of a higher cost area. And, we just map all of that out in our course. And so you can find us on shorttermgems.com. I have a Learn with Rachel tab on shorttermgems.com. And would look forward to connecting. And from there, we just launched a website where we're marketing properties of the members that are in our program, on this website, just to give them a little bit more visibility and opportunity to get the insurance companies to connect with us. And so that is a big passion of ours. It's a win-win all around, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, that is so good. My next question was going to be, where can people find you? But you answered that, and how you just finished. Like, I had a mentor tell me one time, like, if you win and somebody else loses, like, that's a bad scenario. But a win-win or a win-win-win, like, that's how every business interaction should be all the time. Everybody should win in every business interaction. Don't aim to like beat somebody, aim to help them win, and you win at the same time. So I love that you think the same way. So just one more time, shorttermgems.com, right? And name the other ways folks can get in touch with you. You got another website coming?
Yeah, absolutely. If they want to go to 75gems.com, 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 you'll get the list of my top cities for short-term and midterm rentals there. And that's a question I get asked all the time. Which cities would work the best? And I have on there some of my favorites. So 75gems.com, and they'll be able to get a part of our emails and, invitations to join us for classes and webinars and all of the things. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. This has been an absolute pleasure. No, and I mean that, like, seriously, I could talk to you forever. You might have a new student as well. So
I love it. Let's go, Mark.
Let's do this.
I told you I was going to spill some tea. Look, if that's the free stuff, can you imagine? Yeah, it's an amazing community for sure.
We didn't come here to think about winning. We came here to actually do it.
Yes, let's go.
This has been great. Thank you so much, Rachel. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me. What a pleasure. Thank you, Mark.